Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Line Change, the NHL betting podcast from the Action Network, presented to you by BetMGM. My name is Michael Leboff. Joining me for this short episode is my man Nick Martin. It's short because since we last spoke, the Toronto Maple Leafs have been eliminated. The Edmonton Oilers were just eliminated 6 or 7 minutes ago, leaving us with 5 teams left. It's Florida and Carolina in the East, and Vegas will host either Seattle or Dallas for game 1 in the midweek out west, just as we predicted. The only game we have to talk about is Seattle and Dallas is 8 o'clock Eastern time Monday night in Big D. The Stars are minus 210. Kraken plus 270. Seattle is now 7-6 in the postseason, 13 games. They've been an underdog in all 13. And for all road games, they've closed, I believe, plus 160 or higher.
Yeah, I think it's higher than that
Yeah,
because I thought I pulled the same stat. I think it was plus 165 for all of them.
incredible.
It's
They
it's
get
wild.
no respect. Well, I shouldn't say that. Like they're
I think they get none.
yeah,
I wrote the article to back them in game 5, and it was the classic thing, like it lost, and I heard a little bit of flack, and it's like, you know what? I think this is one of those cases where whether they finish the series or not, there was one side that held value in every
right.
single game.
I would agree. Yeah.
So
Um,
I'm standing by that here, which
Honestly, like
is where you're going, obviously.
both Western Conference semifinals, even if Edmonton had won this series, like it was the same case, right? Like the Oilers we kept saying it, this team is completely overvalued and the hype train's outrageous. The Oilers would win a game and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, they look incredible." They'd lose a game and they'd be like, "This team can't lose 2 in a row." Uh, and that just completely screwed the prices up.
I know
Uh,
I got a little too swept up in that hype. I don't think I cashed in on Vegas enough.
it's been a challenging postseason in that regard, honestly.
It's
Uh,
been really challenging. I think it's been, and I mean, ultimately, I think the biggest takeaway you can have, it's not fun to hear it. It's a classic Nick Martin take, I think, but the variance in hockey is insane. It like that's the reality of it. Leon Draisaitl just had 1 point in the final 4 games. Like,
and
and
you
we're talking about like who can play in the playoffs. What do you mean? Nobody would have ever said that Draisaitl was the problem 4 games ago.
right.
Like it's a comment
So
on how it goes, I think, and how things really are, which works to your point here because Vegas was doing a lot of things well as a team. Um,
and I think that
it's just
Draisaitl point
wild.
also. So when you're previewing an entire playoffs and you're previewing a series, I make this point all the time. Is like, okay, we're looking at these two teams. Going to look at Florida and Carolina in the Eastern Conference. We'll touch on it a little bit in this episode. We'll touch on it more when we reconvene after Dallas and Seattle. But you can look at the two teams, and the only way you can look at them is as is. And then Leon Draisaitl gets slashed in the hand by Alex Pietrangelo. We're gonna find out if it hurt him or not. I'm pretty sure it definitely messed with him a little bit. You can't see those things coming. You can't see Eric Chernak going out in the first, whatever 30 minutes of a series. You can't see um, you know, Toivo Teravainen getting hurt, right? Like you can't. So it's not just the randomness of the sport itself. It's a game played on ice, chasing around a piece of vulcanized rubber, and there are two people wearing pillows and masks at either end of the ice, right? Like it's a random sport as it is, and then you throw in the kind of related randomness with injuries and suspensions,
Game
officiating, everything
management.
else. Right,
The
right, exactly.
officiating is like nobody wants to hear this drum beaten, but it's insane. Like I'm personally, you know where I'm at on this. I haven't enjoyed the end of the playoffs here because I think it is what it is. It's letting teams that I don't want to watch win, and then people will complain about that. Everyone is cool with the way it's reffed. Everyone's like, "This is playoff hockey. It is what it is." but then they're sad when Draisaitl and McDavid are out, and it's like,
Not
which way
me.
do you?
Keep going. It is.
Yeah,
But anyways, it all adds up into this crazy, dumb, random tournament.
goaltending too. We got to throw.
Yeah,
You got
right.
to throw
Goaltending is
goaltending in the
insane.
mix too.
So we're gonna see Aiden Hill versus is like putting the Seattle Dallas aside. The three goalies in the Final Four are gonna be Sergei Bobrovsky, who everybody coming into the playoffs was like, this guy's just his contract's an albatross, and it is like this.
I've said that
Yeah,
so many times.
right.
Like he's
Like nobody.
shit all over that
He was
contract.
probably the most unfancied commodity in hockey, right? Like
He was 100%. I
yeah.
think you could argue hardest contract to move in the last 2 years probably would have been his.
So it's gonna be him, Freddie Anderson, who is the butt of every joke out there. In terms of anytime his name's brought up or the Hurricanes are brought up. Aiden Hill and either Jake Ottinger or Philip Grubauer, who was by goals saved above expected the worst goalie in the league last season. So, yeah, I mean, it's insane. And I think what ended up happening was last couple postseasons, things never truly got off the rails.
No.
And
credit to the Avs
last
year.
postseason, especially not. Like Colorado just worked teams as they were kind of expected and priced to do. The Eastern Conference, Tampa Bay went to their third straight Stanley Cup, and the Metro was kind of viewed as a toss up with the Rangers as like the upstart. Then the Hurricanes and Bruins as just solid teams, and Pittsburgh is kind of in that same tier as Boston and Carolina, but there was nothing insane about it really.
Not
And
at
then
all.
and I think that threw a lot of people off the scent, like that most of the time in these postseasons, like things just go completely off script, and that's where we're at. And that's part of why I like Seattle, because I think people are still expecting tomorrow to show up and these two teams show up and everyone say, okay, well, Dallas has the on paper better goalie. Jake Ottinger's in bad form, first of all. And Dallas is the better team in terms of regular season. They were the favorite in the series. It's game 7. It's at home. Like they have all this stuff pointing towards them. They're minus 210. Do you know how many people will just see that number and then be intimidated to bet against it? A lot. And it's game 7. Like Seattle's already made it to a game 7. They've already turned the series.
Like they're going to play the same. Yeah, exactly. Same kind of game versus Colorado. If they can play a game anywhere like that, you don't want a Dallas ticket here. And the one thing too, just to even go even more to where it's been like everyone knows goaltending is hard to project. One of the wildest things is that it's the teams that their goalies are going or not going have been so random. Everybody would have said that Ettinger is the best goalie left by a mile, and he could end up being a big part of the reason they're out. I don't think he's necessarily been bad. I think the Kraken have got some pretty good looks. They've got really good shooters. Like that continues.
He's been outplayed, I think you could say, by Grubauer.
Or
the series as a whole, right? Like
he hasn't been a star. Like the reality of it is he hasn't been a star. If he was close to what he was versus Calgary last year, they're probably walking through this series. So it's just stuff like that is where it just gets to the point. And this year is just like an all-time low for it. But it's been so wild. And I think this is a big thing that's interesting when we look at all like the hindsight 2020 takes, when we see tomorrow the Oilers talking about what's wrong, about how maybe they shouldn't have thought Skinner could do it. It's like, what were they supposed to do that much different though? Nobody thought these were flaws that would be critical entering the postseason. And how many goalies are you really like? What goalies could they have where the things would have worked out better? Like it's one of those things where I think when people analyze like what went wrong and stuff like that, they make it sound like 10 teams won the cup every season. And then on top of
that old Brian Burke cliche. Last time I checked, only one team wins the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like, a lot of the flaws are hard to cover. And then so much of it is just random too.
Yeah, random. Like Matthias Ekholm put a puck on the stick of Riley Smith in the slot tonight, 20 seconds into the game. Like when you're breaking down a hockey game, you're not saying, well, the Oilers if you're betting on the Oilers, you got to be ready for Matthias Ekholm to serve a pizza to Riley Smith
Right, and
quickly.
another good one too. Like
Like,
Ekholm takes the dumb penalty that
right.
probably is a huge reason they're done playing now, because that puts it 4-on-3 power play. 4-on-3 power plays are significantly more dangerous. And I was already thinking about how the Oilers were getting a power play at the end of that sequence, and he takes
They were
that dumb
setting up for
penalty.
it too.
And
Like
then
Evander
the
Kane
goal's
takes the
pretty
puck
fluky
out to like,
too. Like
yeah,
bounces up 10 feet in the air, drops on the goal line, gets slammed in. Like it's just been absolutely wild. And yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. And I think this is kind of like, it's funny that we have this, you're having this conversation and you're wondering, is this about betting? And the answer is yes, it is. Because what we're saying here is don't expect it to stop. Like it's not just because Dallas is going to step on the ice tomorrow as a significant favorite doesn't mean that you should just expect them to get every bounce and weird things to not happen. Like sure, tomorrow could be a completely on script game. Dallas could win it 4-1 and who knows, but I tell you right now that I would be I don't know in what world I would be betting this number on Dallas. Like
Yeah, I agree. I hope it works out where the Kraken win. I want to see them win. I think
it
they're the
it
valuable
blows
betting
my
side.
mind really. Like
The other thing that I think is
because it's
interesting,
it's not just it's game. They didn't just get this series to Game 7, and they didn't just beat the defending Stanley Cup champions in Game 7 last round. They also made the playoffs very comfortably.
playing good. The
And
only
yeah,
thing that the only knock really was Drew Bauer was bad. Like
right.
that's really,
And
if you
he's
look
not
at,
and like he's been okay. Like he's been good enough.
yeah. And then
Like
the
he's
other
been
thing is
better
they
than
were
good
getting
enough.
demolished in the starts where Jones came in. So now Jones
Right.
isn't coming in. So if they had a better backup, they probably have a better record coming into the playoffs, and then they're getting more credit. So that's interesting too. The one take that I've seen a lot of respectable people on, I thought it was a decent bet last game. There's a total of a flat 6 out there today. I'll probably end up putting some on the under. Like it's game 7. Everyone thought this series was just going to be printing on the unders. This was actually one of my good takes that I thought early on it had the ability to be more high scoring. But now I think this is a time to capitalize on that. I thought that last game was it got off the rails, but I still feel like 6 between these two teams in a game 7 is just a time. Roll with our guy Stuckey. He's always on the game 7 unders
Yeah.
train. Like it's a thing. It is a
It is a
good
thing.
strategy. And I think like this total easily could have ended up being 5.5 if this series didn't happen to break open a lot more often than people think. And then that's another thing where people count on trends like that being a lock, where they say, every game's gone over. How can you go on the under here? That's not how betting works, right? You're trying to understand what's more likely to happen in the next game based off what we've seen and based off how the teams match up. So, yeah, it looks really dumb when you go on the over and every game's gone over and it misses in the next one. But that's not sustainable betting information. If it was, you could just ride every team that's winning. You could ride every trend like that and you'd be sitting here rich, right? The idea is you don't know when those trends are going to end. It's like, so that's just kind of the reality of that. And I think that's kind of what's been hard with the playoffs. It seems like there's just been kind of nothing sustainable and
Yeah.
logical to a lot of stuff.
Yeah. The only like I'm trying to think of like the only constants because we talked 2 episodes ago about Leon Draisaitl winning the Conn Smythe and we were tongue in cheek about it, even if the Oilers got eliminated next round. Uh, and then he goes away, right? Like there's been no you think about like the teams that have been consistent. You could say Carolina, probably the most
They've been
consistent team.
great. I think
Yeah.
they've been the best top to bottom team where they deserve it. They've played really well as a team. Like I think what Carolina's done has been really, really impressive.
And then the number 2 team is Vegas. And it sounds simple to say because they're 2 of the
For
3
sure,
teams,
actually,
right?
yeah, I
Right.
got to
But
throw Vegas in that
yeah.
boat.
And if you had told us, if we had a third person as a co-host on this podcast and that person or they guessed it in an episode and they said, "Oh, I like Carolina and I like Vegas to make deep runs." I think the 2 of us would just be like, I don't really know what
I wouldn't have argued them. I would have just stuck with my playoff guns.
Yeah.
Just like I think that,
No, I don't think we
just,
wouldn't
but
have
they've
called it.
proven it. They've been
Yeah,
great.
we just wouldn't have agreed with that, and especially at the numbers that were being offered on those two teams as well, right? Like,
And to talk
um,
about like the Draisaitl thing to tie into kind of our trend note, and I can't really like talk much shit about this because it's not like I capitalized. I actually bet on Draisaitl to score tonight, but we did say, and I did say how it was simply unlikely how many pucks he was just slamming in on empty
right,
nets for like a 4 game sample there, and how you don't see any goal scorer do that. And when it happens, everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to the good spots. He's doing this and that." And it's like he is, but that still doesn't mean the puck ends up in those spots as easy as it was for him for a couple games there. So just kind of a little tie-in on that. Trends don't have to continue there if they're not overly
right.
logical.
Um, all right, so that's it's kind of funny just to break down this Kraken Stars game like that, basically just saying there's just no reason for this number to be this high, um, at all. Real quick, before we get out, Florida, Carolina, Carolina's slight -130 favorite. I'm gonna stick to what I said about the Devils, which is I think it's just gonna take some time to adjust to Carolina for Florida. But I do think Florida's, clinical kind of opportunistic offense and their physicality, their forechecking ability, they're kind of halfway between the Islanders and Devils, which could set up okay. So I'm interested in Florida, not right now, but I think, a game one loss in Carolina is certainly reasonable to expect. And I think if they do fall in game one, no matter how they look, I'll back the Panthers, I think, to make a comeback in the series. So that's what I'm thinking here. Um, Other than that, I really got nothing. I think I'll probably bet a long shot goal scorer, leading goal scorer for the series. And honestly, might be Nick Cousins again. He's 200-1. I saw this series. Who the hell knows? Austin Matthews, John Tavares had 0 goals last series. Like
Tavares might not have played,
yeah,
or shouldn't might as well not have played.
yeah.
I
It's
thought
just like you
horrible.
think, but you take a long shot is all I'm saying. I think Jordan Martinook ended up leading that series in points. Who knows what you could have got him at to do that? So whatever.
Um, the one thing too, I think you're gonna see some games in here where I could see Carolina finding some stupid shot totals in this series. I think that's really realistic.
Yeah,
I maintain that I truly don't think Florida did overly well at all. Um, that was the best 5 game span of Sergei's career by goals saved above expected. So the point is, when they come into Carolina, who play even faster, even more aggressive, I do think that the defense is gettable. I agree. I don't know what I want to bet on as a side in this game. I don't really know how the series might look, but I do think there could be one where if you're someone who likes playing these game stacks with like Carolina shots and Bobrovsky saves, I think that's a really reasonable look. I was kind of trying to figure out my favorite Carolina shots based off price tonight, and they didn't have them up yet. They have for most of the series the night before, which has been nice, but not in this one. So I don't know. Look at the usual guys, see whose prices don't seem overly juiced, but I think there's a good chance Carolina hits a really high shot total in this game.
yeah. So that game, I guess, has been. They didn't officially announce when it was starting until. Uh, I guess they haven't even done it yet. So I'm expecting it to be Tuesday night. Uh, could be Wednesday.
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
would. That's true. Actually, I didn't even realize that. I
Yeah,
was
because
looking
what
at
ends up
the
happening is like
odds.
sports
Oh,
books
you know
just
what? It's just because they clumped it up. Yeah.
yeah, they just put up like whatever, like a random.
Yeah. Shout out to the NHL for the 10 o'clock Eastern start today.
I love that people were so mad about it. I was like, I just don't even care. Um,
Well, I'm a Mountain
yeah,
Standard.
that's what I'm saying. The
It
game was in
still,
mountain time,
it
and
still was
it's
bad for
Mother's
me,
Day,
man.
and whatever. And I know that there's something with baseball or something. Yeah. So that's really it. Kraken. We'll kind of firm up our thoughts on Florida and Carolina. We'll reconvene after Seattle and Dallas, maybe right after the game tomorrow night, or if there's an off day, we'll do it then. But I we'll be back soon enough. But yeah, keep an eye on those prices for Carolina and Florida, most goals in the series, because you're going to see some really short numbers next to Kachuk and Aho and Verhaeghe, Natchez. Like those guys should suck up.
Natchez is the sixth favorite. I think that's
That's
playable.
playable. Yeah.
I thought he was pretty clearly Carolina's, or maybe not pretty clear. I thought he was Carolina's most dynamic forward in
Someone
that season, so
like Anthony Duclair would be interesting to me if he's like long. I saw him at like 30, but
Natchez and Jarvis are down there. I think those are both solid. I like those two. I thought they were kind of clearly Carolina's drivers. Looking good.
man, still can't get you on the Nick Cousins train after he almost did it for us at 300 to 1.
Yeah, no, I could get on that if he was that long. I'm not seeing him here. I'm just looking at it.
I see him out at 200.
Okay. Yeah, like running it where I'm looking, Natchez is the one that jumps out to me as being like he's the sixth guy. I think Carolina probably I lean winning and scoring more goals, so I want one of their guys. And I think he was their second best goal scorer in the regular season. I thought he looked like the one who deserved most goals last series. So
Okay.
that's the kind of my case there.
I'm just gonna read you some names that are above Nick Cousins by quite a bit. Paul Stastny's 55. Eric Stahl's 80. Brady Shea's 35. Jesse Puljujarvi.
What's Kotkaniemi?
130. He's short, man. I was
Okay.
he was
that's actually one
he was in my mind as someone. I was like, if I can get like a 35 on Kotkaniemi, I would take it. He's 19 to 1. I think that's a little suspect.
What do you do?
So, anyways, yeah, Nick Cousins. What a guy. Okay, that'll
the Toronto one 3.
how many
3 goals? Yeah,
he had 2, but
okay.
he should have had he very
he was close to
possibly
3.
could have had 4, and I think he had a post and he should have had 2. And
so did they all tie? Who won the series? Verhaeghe?
Verhaeghe with 4.
Okay,
so he finished 2 back, but I mean, it was a decent sweat. He scored the first and last goal of the series. It was incredible.
Yeah, he came through big.
So, anyways, that'd be a fun bet. Last goal of the series.
We should have had Verhaeghe also.
I know.
Easy hindsight 2020, but it's just like
same thing when you talk about Pavelski.
To pass on.
Yeah,
I know that's true. And now he's like minus 7,500 to lead that series in goals.
All right. Well, we'll see. And we'll all be on the Kraken tomorrow. Tonight for you listening. Actually, tonight for me recording because it's well past midnight. But for Nick Martin, I'm Michael Leboff. This has been Line Change. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our sponsor, BetMGM. Good luck in Game 7 tomorrow.